and what brings me here today probably, which you also have a lot to do with, is our new signature process, our new telesales signature process. That's the fourth thing that clients are looking for, right? An eapp, underwriting, value, a really strong product, but you also have to have a good telesales signature process.
Today's guest is the National Sales Manager for Transamerica, and we're going to talk about a really awesome and exciting change that they just made. It's a game changer for the Final Expense Express product. Mr. Steve Weber, thank you for joining me.
Doug, thanks for having me. Super excited to be your guest.
Awesome. I appreciate you being here big time, man. So let's kind of jump into it, learn a little bit about you for people who don't know who you are. How long have you worked for Transamerica, and what exactly do you do there?
Yeah, been here a long time. So I'm in my 27th year, not in the industry, but at Transamerica, which if you know what happens with carriers and especially Transamerica, I'm super proud of having such long tenure at one company. I joined in 1999. I've been on the variable annuity side for a long time. I had national sales manager responsibility for variable annuities, and just over 10 years ago, moved to the life side. So I drive all independent life insurance in the brokerage channel.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's get right to the lead. Tell us about the newest update for the Final Expense Express product.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Well, I want to say a couple of things, but before I jump into it, I want to say thank you for having me on. I love your content. I watch your content. I subscribe to you. I've learned a ton about the industry from just how you share your thoughts, how you talk about what clients or agents are looking for, what carriers you like and why. So thank you for putting out good, honest content. You don't say, hey, this is the easiest job in the world and you're going to make 500 grand your first year. You're really straightforward about how hard it is, what it takes to succeed, and why you like different carriers. And listen, I've learned from you and other agents. When agents are picking a final expense company, they're typically looking for four things, right? The first thing they're looking for is a really good eapp, an eapp that's fast, that's modern, that's intuitive, that's 100% instant decision in the eapp, so you don't have to wait for an email. I'll go deeper into that. But the second thing agents want is really good underwriting. They want underwriting that's going to help them approve their clients, right? They're trying to protect families. They're trying to drive sales. And if you have a great eapp without good underwriting, that's going to be a challenge for some agents. Thirdly, they want value. The product has to have good value. Now, value goes deeper than just the cost. Right? Value can be your riders. It can be your benefits. It can even be part of your underwriting. And like with our rates, I say our rates are good. Our rates combined with our underwriting are fantastic. And I'll talk more about that. And then finally, and what brings me here today probably, which you also have a lot to do with, is our new signature process, our new telesales signature process. That's the fourth thing that clients are looking for, right? An eapp, underwriting, value, a really strong product, but you also have to have a good telesales signature process. The industry flip-flopped since COVID started. We used to be 90% face-to-face, and boy, I bet we're getting close to 90% telesale. So what happened this year, since we launched this product, our sales are really doing well. We have had record growth month over month, but it's been with the face-to-face agencies. Our face-to-face signature process was, from day one, was really strong. Turn that computer around, let the client click. That's it. That's their signature. And Doug, I remember one of the first videos on our telesales signature when we first launched it. You said that you thought maybe 4 out of 5 telesales signatures would fail because of how long and cumbersome and clunky the telesales signature process was. Just to remind you, by the way, you're 100% right, Doug. To remind you of the old process and what we just changed on Monday. So the old process was, yes, you could get a text, but then we're asking a demographic that might not be super sophisticated. We're asking them to click on that link, enter their email, make sure their email is perfect, enter their email address, then create a 10-digit password that has to have a special character, lowercase and uppercase, a number, then enter their birthday, then enter the last four of their social, then check a few boxes, and then apply their signature. So a lot of people were aligned with what you were saying, that this is just too challenging. And no agent wants to get down the path and then find out they've got the right solution with the right carrier and then figure out the client doesn't know how to sign or it's just too complicated and they're getting frustrated. So the new signature process is fantastic. It's as simple as three things. The client receives a text. In that text is a 6-digit PIN code. They read that PIN code to the agent. The agent needs to read a script, enter that 6-digit PIN, and that's their signature. So we also do send links. So in that text message, we encourage the clients to review their documents. Now, if you're reviewing documents, right, that does have PHI. There's a lot of information. So then you do have to enter your birth date and last four of your social, but that's completely optional. Most agents are probably going to say, hey, let me get that PIN code and then let's review your documents because you want that PIN code in order to move forward. So some of the material that we have when I share it with you so you can share it with your agents and your agency, it'll show you that process, but really straightforward. In summary, client gets a text, they read the 6 digits over the phone, then the agent enters those 6 digits, and then we're giving you a decision. So one of the places we get really good feedback in, Doug, is around our signature process because we moved it to the beginning of the eapp. So really quickly, your client, your agent is, putting in their client's information, name and address and social. Then we ask very few, pretty limited health and lifestyle questions. So we're asking questions. If you're super healthy, it's as fast as none of the above. Then we go into our lifestyle, which is, are you a smoker? Do you have any DUIs or felonies? And a few other questions. And then they sign. So then that PIN to sign comes right up front. And you're doing it before you've done your banking. You're doing it before you've done your beneficiaries. I mean, why go through that long application process to only get an adverse decision and then not be able to move forward? The other thing people like is that when you apply, no matter what dollar amount you apply for, we approve you for the maximum, which is up to age 75 is $50,000. So when you apply for $5,000 or $10,000, it says, congratulations, you're approved for 50. And then you can customize coverage. And that approval is a binding approval. So even if you go from 5 to 50 or you increase your coverage, there's no more underwriting. That decision is done. So then you go into your beneficiaries and your banking. Doug, I know I'm talking a lot here, but listen, this is something else that you really drove home in your content on your channels, which is how important Social Security billing is, how important true Social Security billing is as a carrier, and that for this demographic, it's important to get to the money fast. And that's something Transamerica does really well. We have a reputation for being a true Social Security carrier. And we just made enhancements because even though we were good at it, we noticed sometimes we were agents or clients were picking the wrong draft. So now we actually give guidance and say, hey, we think it should be the 3rd of the month. Now you can override it and change it. Maybe they're on SSI. Maybe they're taking it in early age. So now we're giving guidance there. And then there's one other enhancement I think is really important for telesale agencies, which is how do you keep it on the books? Another quote that you had in one of your videos was the work begins the moment you've made the sale. Right now you've got it. Now you don't want chargebacks. You don't want it to fall off. Well, one of the things we just enhanced was this policy promise. So at the end of the sale, instantly available is a very official looking 1-page summary that the agent can send to the client. So a lot of times you're doing this over the phone. How do you maintain that trust and confidence, hours later when maybe their nephew is saying, oh my gosh, grandma, you just got scammed. Show me proof of what you just bought. Well, now you can do that. It's a real official looking document, has all the pertinent, it has their draft date, their coverage amount, their policy number, has your agent info, very official looking Transamerica document. Best practice, immediately after the sale, email that brochure Send it with maybe a product brochure, maybe something about Everest, our funeral planning writer. And, it goes a long way to keep that trust and keep that policy on the book. But yeah, you can tell I'm excited.
That's a lot of great stuff, man.
Yeah.
It was a good way, the way you walked through the signature. Thank you for that. That was perfect, because that is a game changer. It really is. That's, to me, anybody who's got a final expense product needs to have this type of a signature process. So the fact that you've got it, along with the other things I know about this product, let's kind of move into maybe a little bit of underwriting niches. I know that you guys made some changes, and you do have some niches for like first day coverage. And when I say niches, what I mean is you'll give certain people with certain health conditions first day coverages in situations where with other carriers or other products, they're not getting first day coverage if they're getting insurance at all.
Yeah, you're right. Listen, there's places we're tough and we're strict. And then there's places where we really lean in and we have strong niches. The big four health conditions that every agent always asks about, right? They're always trying to say, how do you handle this? COPD, right? We're going to give you day one coverage with COPD. Diabetes at early age, diabetes with uncontrolled insulin and sugars, diabetes with neuropathy. We're very diabetic friendly. This one surprises a lot of people. CHF, congestive heart failure, day one coverage select. A stroke, day one coverage select. A recent heart attack, day one coverage select. So we actually just made enhancement last month to our rules. We launched this product with really good single conditions, right? Most brochures, most underwriting guides only show single conditions and what the decisioning would be. Well, most of our clients today, if they're a little bit unhealthy, chances are they have more than one condition. And we were good at not stacking unrelated conditions. You could have Parkinson's and MS and COPD. Those are actually unrelated medical conditions, and you can get day one coverage. Well, in the last month, we just changed our rules around comorbidities, right? When it comes to health conditions, sometimes 1 + 1 = 5, right? Two conditions are a lot worse than just the sum of the parts. But we made some big changes. So we were always good with CHF. Now you can have CHF and diabetes and still get day one coverage. You can have CHF and a stroke and still get day one coverage. CHF, we're really strong. Heart attack, we're really strong. Diabetes, we're going to be strong. Stroke, we're strong. Now, sometimes agents hear this and think, oh my gosh, you're like guaranteed issue. We are absolutely not. We're still declining people because there are places we're tough. Notably, we're tough on cancer. We might be a bit of an outlier. You have to be cancer-free for 4 years. We're tough on drug abuse and alcohol abuse. We're tough on hospital stays. We used to, that's another enhancement we just made. We used to auto decline and not even pull fast data if you said you had more than 2 nights in a hospital. Now, even if that was for knee surgery, like something had no impact on your mortality, well, we fixed that, but we do still look at, there's still some scoring involved with hospital stays. We're a little tough on memory loss. We've made some changes there. But in general, we're doing everything we can to make a decision that's good for the client and good for the carrier, good for Transamerica in the long run. So our placement rates are real strong right now, and people are super happy with the speed of the eapp, the underwriting rules, the rates and the value. And Everest, Everest is interesting. Everest is a funeral planning concierge writer that's built into every product.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, maybe can you walk us through what Everest does for the client and basically what the agent has to do to connect the two?
Sure. Well, so Everest is a funeral planning concierge service that's built into every policy. So whether you're buying 5,000 or 50,000, you're going to have the services that Everest offers. They're probably most known for making sure that every client, every beneficiary has access to a licensed funeral planning director who will help you plan your funeral, make sure your final wishes are held with dignity and respect, and that you're relieving the burden of an unplanned funeral on the beneficiary, on that person you love the most, right? Clients are buying life insurance because they don't want to be a financial burden. Well, why not go the extra step and relieve the burden of planning that funeral? Make sure that you're working with the licensed funeral planning director. They're actually doing two other things that are really important. They're negotiating the costs, right? They can help you plan your funeral. On average, they save between $6,000 to $8,000 because they work with all the funeral homes in your area and help you plan your funeral. Think of it as a wedding planner. A wedding planner doesn't pay for anything, but they help you plan your wedding. That's what the licensed funeral planning director does also. The second benefit they do is because of their strong relationship with Transamerica, we'll pay that death claim up to $25,000 within 48 hours. So they handle the death claim work. You don't even need a true death certificate from the county. We'll take one from the funeral home and process that. Now, if the death occurs in the first 2 years, of course, there's the contestability period. So that can slow things down, but that's a really strong feature. And the third thing they do is they give you the ability to create the most important financial documents that everybody needs, no matter their wealth, right? Every single client needs a last will and testament. Everyone should have a financial power of attorney, and everyone should have a medical healthcare directive. So those are the three most important documents that everybody should have. And in Everest, they will help you sit with the client to complete them. So the client completes them. You can walk them through it. They have really good training material. The agents it is funny with Everest, for some people, they're making a sale and moving on. For the agents that have leaned in to Everest and share the value, it's an incredibly valuable benefit. One agent said, hey, I love your product. You have the best living benefit in the industry. I'm like, living benefits? We don't have any, we have a nursing home rider, accelerated death, but we don't have crit. So no, the Everest rider. Think of it. Every client can use it from day one. Every beneficiary can use it. You don't have to qualify. It's like the best. And I'm like, oh, wow, what a great way to present it. So Everest is good. It clicks with some, but the agents that have learned the story and kind of use those words, no one wants to be a burden. You want peace of mind. You want to relieve the stress. The agents that tell that good story, they're going to keep the business on the books. And I think Everest does that also.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah. It sounds like Everest and Transamerica really have done well to combine what you guys are doing. And yeah, an agent that leans into a concierge plan like that, that's just huge value on top of value on top of value. So kudos. Very cool. I know our agents are definitely going to be pushing that. They're definitely going to want to use that. With that being said, we talked about the final expense product, the underwriting, and that's really what our agency does, mainly final expense, but we do sell a lot of term too. Are you guys using the pin to sign, this new signature process, on any of the other products?
Not yet, but we have a really good path coming to lean into this digital instant decision space. Our CEO came out a couple years ago and said, we want to be America's leading middle market life insurance company. Another way to say that is we need to be the best instant decision life insurance company. If we really want to win in that middle America space that is underserved, quite frankly. So we're known today as having really good term rates. Our Trendsetter Super is straight term, really competitive. Our Trendsetter LB with living benefits is a great product. We have 2 IULs that we sell. We have the number 1 selling IUL in the industry because of our partnership with WFG, World Financial Group. They sell a lot of our IUL. But back to this instant decision path. Right now, we talked about FE Express, our final expense instant decision. In November, we're launching on the same eapp platform, 100% instant decision IUL it has me really excited. That will also have the same 6-digit PIN. And then in the first half of next year, we'll have 100% instant decision term. So on one eApp that we get great feedback on, you'll also be able to toggle between FE Express, term, and IUL.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's talk about them riders. I know you've got some living benefits and riders on your term products. Can you give us kind of an idea of what you guys offer?
Yeah. Today on our fully underwritten products, our FFIUL and then the terms. FFIUL is a great IUL product. It is fully underwritten, but it's non-med. So, right, it's non-med up to $2 million to age 45, up to $1 million to age 55. It has really good living benefits that go up to $2 million where you're, accelerating 90%. But it also has a really strong true long-term care rider, a true 7702 long-term care rider that's unique in that it grows with the death benefit. So if you start with a $500,000 death benefit, and now because of the performance and corridor, or it's just increasing, let's say you went option B and you went with an increasing death benefit, and now your death benefit's worth $1 million, your long-term care rider is off $1 million. So that's really strong on our IUL too. One other thing that little ahead of myself, but I think we have one of the best kept secrets has to be one of our index accounts. And on our IUL, that will also be included in November on our instant decision IUL too. And it's called the Balanced Uncapped Index. And I could spend a lot of time talking about it, but I tell agents, whenever you hear uncapped, you better be nervous about what you're giving up. And the first question you should ask is, how much equity does it have? And what did it perform in 23 and 24? I am not a fan of volatility control indexes, probably because of my background in annuities. I've seen a lot of people get caught in bonds, right? Volatility controlled indexes are often proprietary indexes that are just back tested and they sounded great. But what happens is when volatility gets high, they move you to bonds. And when the market recovers, you're still in bonds often. So anyway, you're getting me down to something I'm excited to talk about, but we have a really good index account. It's a third S&P 500, a third Nikkei, and then a third volatility control, which I just said I don't like. But what that little third slice does, it gives you an uncapped index with 113% participation rate. So I know we're jumping around a little bit, but it is unique, and it's something I like talking about because too many people say, oh, look at this, look at the participation rate on this index. It's 245%. And I'm like, yeah, but just what it do in 24? What it do in 23? It probably did zero when the S&P did, 20% plus. So anyway, another subject.
So something to think about.
Yeah.
You didn't mention I know we talked about the Final Expense Express, and I know you guys have, I believe it's lifetime whole life product. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Lifetime is another whole life. So think of it similar to Final Expense, and it's a protection product. It's not a great accumulation product, but it does go up to $2 million. It also is non-med to age 45 and for $2 million and $1 million up to age 55. But it has a really good way. I think it's a very strong mortgage protection solution because it has built-in term riders where you can get up to 3 times your permanent face amount. So let's say you want $250,000 of permanent coverage. You can add $750,000 of term, and you can choose it on a 10 or 20 or 30 year. So there's a lot of planning opportunities to maybe cover your mortgage with a term rider, do a short pay so you're no longer paying premiums after age 65, but still have your coverage because it is a permanent product. And it's a strong compensation product too.
Yeah, the idea of, so you've got 2-in-1. A lot of agents are, they meet with the client and they explain how, the term life is for if you die and the money has to go, there's going to be money available for the family to pay for those bills where your income's going to be gone. And then, generally we sell final expense or whole life for, to have some insurance when when they're supposed to go, when we pass
Right.
away, well into our 80s or whenever that happens for the funeral. So the fact that you've got a product that's like a 2-in-1, that's pretty cool. Very
Yeah.
exciting.
It's a longer process, right? It's not the instant decision, but it has really good, it's a lot less expensive than final expense because of the fast data, because of the tougher underwriting rules. Even though, you're going to get a decision, it's probably going to take 3 to 5 days. Sometimes if you're super healthy, it's going to be a same day instant decision. On average, it's probably closer to 5 to 7 days of underwriting and pulling fast data and having an underwriter actually, a real person make a decision. But it's a good product. It just isn't as fast and doesn't have the process of what our final expense does.
Well, Steve, thank you for bringing all the value to this conversation. And I really, really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. I'm super excited to have been your guest. Thanks for having me, Doug.
Awesome.